Hello to everyone in the internet. It is currently Thursday, December 6th. I am Nathan Washington. You are watching The Young Globalist, and this is the news. Alright everybody, how you doing? So, some members of the migrant army got sick of waiting, and now they're here somewhere, in the United States somewhere. They got caught climbing up and over the border fence, which Trump originally, when that was put up, mistakenly called it the wall. It's not the wall, it's just a temporary measure until the wall is finished. Whether or not it is ever finished is debatable. But some of the illegal migrants got tired of waiting for the asylum process and just went up and over. Now, many of them actually handed themselves over to agents into arrest, while others just ran off into the night. Yeah, those guys need to be tracked down and forced out. The ones that handed themselves over, we'll go ahead and we'll process their asylum request just the same. But the other dudes, they've lost their privileges. I'm sorry. Of course, you know what caused this in the first place, which is the globalist politicians, I think, paid the migrant force. They lied to them, told them there was a jobs program here to get them to come here. All part of their sickening diversity plan that divides us in half. Basically, that was part of it, but the reason why there would be migrants wanting that in the first place is the U.S. war culture and the constant world policing. I mean, think about all the constant wars that have been going on since the day of the recently departed George H.W. Bush, right? With all these proxy wars and everything else. It's just been almost non-stop. We live in a war culture that needs to stop. And the globalists, of course, use that to their advantage. I mean, I don't know if we're absolutely certain that it is the globalists who lied to the migrants and told them to come here. But the fact that it fits so well with their agenda makes it very likely. So they're here somewhere, like, maybe you make like a wanted list, and then if they're found, force them out. Make it so they have to live on the run if they're going to be here, because they violated our laws. I mean, I'm truly sorry for them, but they broke the rules. And that's on them. Moving on. The arms deal with Russia may end, and if it does, there'll possibly be a new Cold War of U.S. building nukes and Russia building nukes in response. I mean, and it's just crazy to me. Think about this for a second. We create a device that can split atomic particles to kill each other. That's insane. That is overkill. Like, shoot me with a gun, stab me with a sword or a knife, blow me up with a hand grenade, but splitting atomic particles, like the things that make up the material universe, and split them in half to cause explosions, and that doesn't seem crazy. Like, we just take nukes for granted, like it's just a normal thing. Something like that should not be normal, not ever. That's crazy that we can just do that. I swear, human beings are the only species on the planet. Of the few species on the planet we know have this level of intelligence, the small number, like humans and dolphins and various others, there's only like a small few. But we are the only one among them that could honestly even conceive of doing something so crazy as to split atomic particles. It's just insane to me. They call it a deterrent, but do we really need... They call it a deterrent, but if you never actually plan on using it, then why build it in the first place? Just so someone else won't use theirs, I suppose? But would they really, like, use theirs? I mean, we only dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan, and we know what the after effects are. Like, who in their right mind would actually do it after those 2 events? Like, we can assume that that if we eliminated, quit our nuclear program, got rid of our nukes, you could assume that they would go and use theirs. But, and I admit they haven't given us reason to trust them. They haven't given us a lot of reason. But, just maybe they might think twice. Who knows? This is all insanity in my mind anyway. But this much might be true in that Putin has accused the U.S. of blaming Russia as an excuse to leave the current nuclear arms pact. Blaming everything on Russia. So they can get out scot-free of this arms pact. And that might be true. There's a lot of U.S. politicians that absolutely love finger-wagging. Mike Pompeo, one in particular, he loves to finger-wag. He blames everyone but the United States for every problem in the world. You know, don't you just love that? It's like, we do all this nasty shit and then he blames everyone else for it. Wonderful. I love Mike Pompeo. Not. I love Mike Pompeo in that I love to hate Mike Pompeo. But, you know, if the U.S. leaves the arms deal, it could mean a new Cold War. We build nukes, they build nukes. I mean, Putin's laid that out pretty clearly, that if we start building new nukes, then so will they. And a new Cold War will begin. And that insanity happens again. You know, if Trump's smart, he'll keep us in the deal. And you know what? He finishes his second term through a new Cold War, and who the hell knows what his predecessor, or not predecessor, what his successor will do with that environment. Like, whoever comes next, what they'll do with it. Think about the future, Mr. Trump. Don't exit the arms deal. Please stay in it. Please. We do not need another Cold War. Speaking of Cold War and Cold War era countries, Bulgaria has said no to the UN Migration Pact, which on the surface it looks like the UN Migration Pact is about just making migrant travel safer, but a lot of its principles line up pretty well with the EU Migration Pact, which was written specifically by globalist politicians to diversify nations, to get that globalist future, like on Star Trek, you know? Because Star Trek was a globalist opinion piece. Globalism has been growing since World War II. And globalists really believe in that possibility of that utopian future where there are no race wars or race issues of any kind. Talk about your pipe dreams. Yeah, if they're brought up in the exact same culture, sure. But they're not. Like, you can't just bring up a bunch of Middle Easterners into Europe and expect them to get along. There's principles in our cultures that very noticeably rub up against each other and cause friction and conflict, and that they're just straight up ignoring it. So, good job, Bulgaria. You've avoided what could be a globalist UN plot. I don't know that, but it's probably likely that there are globalists in the UN. Politicians that believe in that utopian nonsense and are basically going to fuck us over for their little paradise fantasy. So there's this corporation called Huawei something, like Huawei. Their CFO was recently arrested in Canada for selling products to Iran and other sanctioned countries. And this is a telecommunications company, so they were selling telecommunications technology to Iran and a couple other countries. This really has no impact on the weapons issue per se, but telecommunications can still have other uses, and the laws are clear that if you are in the Western sphere, you shall not sell to Iran. That's been made very clear. But no one wants to, they want to sidestep the rules rather than adhere to them strictly because they see a potential for profit, and that's all they care about. It's like, oh, the president of Iran just wants to use it to like send a birthday wish to their kid. Like, no. At this point, nothing Iran does is ever going to be that innocent. They could use telecommunications technology to have a better satellite communications and be more coordinated with their allies and make it easier for them to plan to attack us. So no. They did the right thing. And that's their chief financial officer. So money-wise, this company will not be able to function as it should. And so this is a good idea to arrest this person. All they see is short-term profit. They're not seeing the bigger picture, as per usual. Moving on. And the final story. The Wisconsin Senate passed a bill which limits Democratic Governor Tony Evers' powers so as to prevent him from keeping his promise of ending Wisconsin's challenge to Obamacare. They want to challenge Obamacare and get it removed from their state, and he doesn't want that to happen. But, you know, they're doing like a game of football. The political class can never get along. We in the rich, in the middle, and the lower class, the working class, we can get along. We can all treat each other like human beings, but the political class, forget it. Especially nowadays, they're constantly at each other's throats. It's like the Republicans are a line of football players, and Tony Evers is like the quarterback trying to pass the ball to Obamacare, and they're blocking it. They might even intercept. This is just the game they play because they don't like each other. Anyway, folks, that's it for today. For the Young Globalist. Tschüss.